Hello SPED 2010 students. So this video is specifically going to be about service learning. So I thought I'd make this video to kind of walk you in depth as far as what is required and the steps that we have to take in order to meet the requirements and turn in the required documents so that you can get the green light to start service learning. So service learning really is a high impact practice. This is going to allow you to have not only academic study and take the things that you're learning in class and apply it with community service. So you're going to gain some experience being in the classroom or an educational setting. So for this course, service learning is required. So you have to complete 12 hours of service learning. So you must choose from our approved list. I know a lot of students have questions. I've had several emails already about this. The list in school systems, we actually have some that are outside school systems, are approved. So we have agreements with certain districts and counties and certain educational settings where you can be placed with. So if it's not in this list, which we'll go over in just a minute, you cannot be placed there. Another thing I want to preface right away is that you have to have a green light from me, your instructor, before you can begin service learning. So I'll probably most likely send you an email saying, hey, you're good to go, we've got everything, you can go in and start your hours. But there is a process and there's paperwork and documents that have to be submitted before any of this can happen with the green light. So the first thing I want to talk about is going over who we have MOU agreements with. So Water State currently has schools available for students within the following. So we've got Claiborne County, Cott County, Newport City, Greene County, Greenville City, Hamlin County, Hawkins County, Rogersville City, Jefferson, Cott County, and Newport City, as well as Sevier, Union, and we also have Douglas Cherokee Economic Authority, Lakeway Christian, Christian Academy of the Smokies, and then the Boys and Girls Club of the Great Smoky Mountains. So the Boys and Girls Club of the Great Smoky Mountains, depending on what area, that would be really good for you. Say if you were a teaching assistant or a teacher aide and you work all day. That would be a good place for maybe you to think about doing your 12 hours, because I also have had emails asking me, I already work as a teacher aide, can I just use hours or can I just do it at my school? No, unfortunately you cannot complete your 12 hours of service learning where you work. It has to be at a different place, and you have to choose one of these educational systems that we have agreements in place with. Okay. One thing I do want to note is that some schools have a little bit of different policies that we have to follow before I can give you the green light. For instance, Jefferson and Sevier counties, we have to have additional approval by the central office personnel before you can be placed. So that usually takes a little bit longer as far as getting you the green light. And then Claiborne and Hawkins County, they require administrative contact from our department at Water State to the central office placement. So they will actually tell you, okay, I'm going to put the student here. So if you are trying to do your placement in Claiborne or Hawkins County, just be aware that that decision of where you go is going to be up to them. And I do understand that Claiborne County schools, you will have to have a background check. If you've already been looking through the paperwork and the manual, then you know that. But Claiborne County wants you to do an additional background check. It's theirs that they use before you're allowed to go into the school system with them. So just keep that in mind. And Douglas Cherokee, they require an additional background check at beyond the TBI as well. So those are two places I want you to think about if you're wanting to get placed. So that in turn could, take more time. I have contacts here for you if you are one that's interested in Boys and Girls Club of the Smoky Mountains, so please look at that. I'm not going to open every single file I have here for the sake of time of this video and the length of this video. There's also something here where it's showing schools that we previously used. So please look at that so you can kind of get an idea of where we've placed students in the last year or so. Now, obviously, we told you you have to use or choose one of the approved lists, school systems that we've provided or that are available for you to do your 12 hours. So those, again, I listed here. I went ahead and reminded you that, you know, some school systems require approval and contact, so that takes longer. And then, of course, Claiborne and Hawkins will place you, you know, where they want to put you, depending on the need that they have at that time. Okay, so you will have to do 12 hours. You have to complete the application is the first step, right? So there is a service learning application. You need to go ahead and fill that out if you haven't already. And we have some other documents I'm going to talk to you about that have to be completed and submitted to a Teams folder. And I'll show you how to do that. You have to get permission from me with a green light before I will even let you go into the school system. So if you didn't get a green light and an email from me saying, hey, you're good to go, you can start, we've got everything, and you were already in the school system, those hours do not count. So just please keep that in mind. There's a process we have to follow, and we have to do what the school would like us to do, and then we have to follow what we're responsible for on our end. So aside from logging your hours, which will be signed off by the teacher that you were with in the classroom, you will also be keeping a service learning journal. So this is going to be something that you will be completing and writing about your experience as you go through your service learning hours and your time at the school or the setting wherever you are. The closing documents, I will go ahead and open those up. Will also be submitted. So the closing documents, hold on just a second, it's a little slow. This closing documents is going to be your log sheet, which will be filled out. Those are the hours. So the supervising teacher you're with will sign off on your hours. It's taking a minute to load, guys. And then your supervising teacher will also do a evaluation on your 12 hours and how you did. So the supervising teacher will complete this and email it to me, and I will provide you with that. So this is something that you won't be submitting. They will submit it for you, and they will sign off. So this is what the evaluation sheet looks like. So the teacher you're with will fill this out, and then also this will be completed as well. Okay, so this is the video that you're watching. Okay, this is a description of service learning, so it tells you a little bit more in depth when we're talking about what it means and how it helps the community, how it blends in as a high impact practice, and what you're supposed to get out of it, and what your responsibilities are as a student. Okay, so there's a way that you need to represent yourself when you go in the school system. You are representing Water State, also yourself, and keep in mind that, you know, you are making contact with these school systems, and you're making an impression on them, and you will eventually have to go out into the field in your own career. So just keep in mind that you are almost essentially networking. So it's important for you to hold yourself to a high standard, and you do have responsibilities as a student when you go into the school systems or the educational setting. So you are to read that as well. So I just want you to realize what you are responsible for and what you should do and how you should act when you go in there. You also have the agency responsibilities, and we'll provide the supervising teacher with a letter explaining what they're supposed to do with you when you're in the classroom. But here's just a little snippet that you can see, you know, what they are responsible for. And you can give the sheet, which I recommend giving that sheet to them. So when you go in there, and you talk with them in that first initial meeting, they understand what you're doing. So I would definitely bring that description with you. There is a service learning manual. I would recommend you downloading this and reading this. This is for you for service learning. It has a little bit of what we did, but it also goes through the service learning steps as far as how do you get through your hours. So remember, you do have to get these hours done. If you do not complete your 12 service learning hours, you will not pass this course. So regardless if you have an A in the class and you didn't do your hours, you will automatically fail. Okay, so this is non-negotiable. So this just walks you through the steps of how you complete. Okay, so the first thing, obviously, you're going to read the manual. We're going to complete the appropriate paperwork, which I will go through with you in just a minute. You do need to purchase liability insurance to protect yourself. That is a requirement. So we have two options for you, which we'll talk about in just a minute. You have Aon and STE, as well as you, in addition, you will be completing your TBI, fingerprint, and background check. Okay, aside from Hawkins and Claiborne, because we stated earlier that they want an additional background check. So just keep that in mind as well. You need to contact the school system yourself, aside from those that we talked about that will place you themselves, just to see if that would be even possibility for you to do service learning hours there. And then once we have all the paperwork, you have your insurance in place, and we have referral confirmation form, which means the school is agreeing to hold you, both the supervising teacher and the principal administrator, or if it's at a district where they want to place you, they get that require additional contact from us. So once everything is set in stone on both sides, and you have all the required documents and paperwork completed, and your insurance and your background check, then at that point I will give you the green light. Okay, so then you will continue to go in the hours that you and the supervising teacher agreed upon, and make sure that your hours are being logged and that you're keeping up with your journal at that point. And make sure you're doing your journal every visit that you go, and you're writing down. And then when you're done with your 12 hours, your supervising teacher will sign off on your log, as well as completing the final evaluation, which they will send to me themselves. And then you are going to be responsible for submitting your journal as well as your final paper. Okay, so just to give you an idea, this is the necessary paperwork that we have to have from you, but we will go through that a little bit. So for insurance, the two that you have available to you as far as options, you can do the $13 Aon insurance. So this is the cheapest option, which most students do. So you can purchase this through the Walter State's cashier's office. So that will cover you for 2 semesters, as well as the STA, which is another option for you. So this is the Student Teacher Education Association. So if you become a member of that and you join it, you have liability insurance included in being a member. So that also covers you in the classroom. I know that the annual membership cost was $30, and it runs from September to August, but their prices can change. But don't worry, I put a link in there for you, so you can go in and the cost will be there on their website. And the link is updated, so the prices should be current. Now, for the cost of the background check, it can be anywhere from 36 to 42. We've seen it kind of range in that. We're not certain how much it costs, but this will give you a ballpark of what you're looking at as far as prices for getting that completed. Okay, so here are the steps that we've got to take, which we will walk through in just a minute, right? So whenever you are completing these things, so the first thing to keep in mind is that if you do this in steps, okay, and you follow the steps accordingly, we're going to get you placed really fast. But if you wait around and you don't schedule your background check and you don't get the paperwork submitted to Teams folder or in your folder, individual folder, then you're going to really delay the process, and things are going to be due by certain times. So it's important for you to make sure that you are getting things completed when the due date is suggested in the course. Another thing I say is visit the school or agency where you're interested in doing it, as long as it's on our approved list. And keep in mind, some school systems like Claiborne and Hawkins will place you themselves. But it's important to make contact with them to let them know what you're doing and that you want to complete, your 12 hours there. Okay, so you have your journal entries. Inside the manual, you will see some of the reflection questions that you will be completing. In addition to the journal, you have that paper, so there are your reflection questions, and it tells about the paper itself. So I want to show you how this is laid out for this module. So obviously all the service learning stuff will stay here for you so you can use as a resource. It won't go away. I will keep it in the class the entire semester. You will always find it under Module 1 Getting Started. There's a separate section there called Service Learning. Okay, that's what we're in right now. So we just went over, you're watching the overview video, that's what you clicked on to watch this. You have the description, and we just went over the manual. So you'll see on the left side, table of contents, it'll walk you through each section. So we're going to click on the next section since we're done there. Now, I did provide a handy-dandy checklist. Please use this. This is going to ensure that you are following everything you're supposed to and check off every time you get something completed. Okay, this just lets you make sure you didn't forget anything. Okay, so these are the steps in which you should complete in this order to make sure you get things done on time. Okay, I listed them as action items because they're very important. These are things that you have to take action to actually do in order to get placed or get the green light to get placed. So the first one you should do is you should make your appointment with TBI, fingerprint, and background check. Okay, you will, once you go, like you have to go through Identigo, and I'll show you in just a minute how to do that. You'll make an appointment, you'll fill out your information. When you actually show up for your background check, you need your driver's license. So just keep that in mind. The next one is you're going to join a team code. So you're going to have to join a teams called Service Learning, and the code is there for you to join. This is where all your pre-service learning documents will be submitted into. So you will not be submitting them into my class, you will be submitting them into here, because we do have a service learning coordinator who will help us with all this paperwork to ensure that you are good to go so you can get the green light. So the first step is to schedule your background check. The next thing is to join the teams, okay? And put your name in there, and everything will be under your specific folder or your notebook. The next action item number 3 is going to be completing your application, your acknowledgement of risk, you have to complete that, your proof of liability. So those are the two we talked about, the STEA or the AON. And then you're going to complete something called a VEX form as well. Now, make sure that you have talked to me and we're in contact before you just go contacting the school about completing your hours there. Once you contacted the school, right, then I'll say, okay, you can go ahead and I will give you what we call a service learning referral confirmation form. So this is a sign-off from the principal, or keep in mind there's schools that place you. We've had contact with them, and then they place you. But we have to have this referral confirmation done by everybody. If it's not completed, you do not get the green light. So once that's completed, okay, then you will get the green light from me, and you can start and begin your 12 hours. So something that have to be returned by your mentor teacher, which is the teacher you're with in the classroom, is going to be your log sheet and your student evaluation. You will not submit those, they will. And then the last action item is going to be responsible, it will be your responsibility, to submit these to the course, which will be your service learning journal and your written paper, your analysis. Okay, so one thing I do want to note is that you'll see here I put a about the pre-service learning documents, this section is important. I know we went over it, but I want you to read it so you understand it. You do need to join the teams with this code. You will have your own notebook. In your notebook, you will be submitting your service learning application, your acknowledgement of risk, your proof of liability insurance, TBI fingerprinting, and your background check. If you have trouble and you kind of haven't figured out how to do it, I have put a video in here how to upload a document to Service Learning Notebook in Teams. So that should help you if you get stuck. And then at the bottom, there is the Service Learning Closing document. So you'll see here all the pre-service and as well as that checklist I told you that you needed to make sure that you print out and save so you know that you have completed the right action steps. So here are all the forms that you have to complete. You've got your VECHS waiver, your application, your service learning release hold, then you have your fingerprinting and background check. Okay, here's the link where you're going to go in so you can schedule an appointment to go do your actual background check from TBI. There are many locations, so when you get in there, you'll fill out your information. If you need help, just let me know. It's pretty easy. It'll walk you through step by step what you have to do, as long as you put our code. So I'll just show you real quick kind of what the form looks like. Okay, so you will put digital fingerprinting because you're doing a background check. And once you select it, okay, you're going to put 4 new appointments. So you're going to have to schedule an appointment to have your fingerprinting done. Okay, the service code, if you don't know your service code, you will go down here and you're going to click you are going to pick non-DCS childcare, I believe. And then it should bring up your code. There's also something in here, too, that should help you walk through as far as when to put the code. Just make sure the code is for Water State, okay? Because what that does is when you put Water State in there, our code, it is going to send the information so we have an option to look to see if there were no indicators and when you had it done, which is what we need on the background. Here are the 2 links for your liability insurance forms. Please make sure that you choose one of these options. Again, there's the link to STA, or if you want to purchase it from the Water State Cashier's Office. And then there is the Aon insurance form. So on the insurance form, you'll see here, whenever you go to the Water State Cashier's Office, you'll have to have your name and your Water State ID. And once you purchase it, they will give you a receipt. You're going to take a picture of that receipt and you're going to email the receipt to this email address here on this form. Now, if you do this over the phone, which some students have because say you're in Sevier County, and you call them, just tell them to email you a receipt to your Water State address. Then that receipt they email you or send you, that's what you will email to teacheredbackground@ws.edu. And that just shows proof that you have had insurance. That way we can check. Okay, and then of course we have the referral confirmation form. I do not advise you going before all this other stuff and before I say, okay, you're good and now you're ready to do the service learning referral confirmation. Don't go and do that before all this other stuff is done and we communicated, because that is going to delay the process of getting you in the school. And then of course those are the closing documents that your supervising teacher will fill out. Now the last section in the service learning folder or module is going to be the service learning rubric. So this is how you will be graded for all of service learning. Okay, so that breaks down how I'm grading each portion. So make sure that you look at that. You have your journal and your prompts, and then you have your written document, which is your reflection paper. Okay, so those will be the things that you turn in. And you'll notice I do have due dates on all of these things that you have to complete, as well as the pre-service paperwork. So on the pre-service learning paperwork, you'll see when all the due dates are there for you. I know this video is long. I sure hope you found it useful. I know it's hard when you have a course where it's online and you have to do this, but if you ever get stuck or you have questions, email me, call my office, or we can do a Teams meeting. But please ask questions if you don't know. Don't go and just do something. If you're confused, I'll be more than happy to help you. All right, guys, until next time, you take care.